Welcome to the Win May Give podcast. Chad Hyams here. Bob Stewart over there. Bob, how are you doing today?
I'm Chad. I told you right before we hopped on, you're my last thing of the day. You told me I'm your last thing of the day. The only difference is you're in Florida and your day is almost over. Yes. I am in Washington and it's not even noon yet, but what I'm about to do, Chad, is I'm going to play. Nobody listens to our podcast. My mom doesn't
you're
listen,
probably good,
I'm going to play hooky in the second half of the day. Hooky, that's a good word. I feel like nobody uses hooky anymore.
I do it all the time. I use that word with my coaching clients all the time. When they text me, they're frustrated or they're pissed off. I say, good, go play hooky for the rest of the day. Pick it up again tomorrow with a clear mind.
So I'm going to play hooky. I'm going to go take my boys. They're going to leave school early. They're getting out a couple hours early.
Do they know this? Do they know Dad's coming?
Yeah, they know.
Okay.
They know.
Right.
We're gonna drive down to the Tacoma Dome, and we're gonna go watch my college roommate's son, who's a junior at Mount Si High School here in Washington State, play in the state basketball tournament, the championship. They're in the quarterfinals or the semis or something. So yeah, we're gonna go play hooky and watch some high school basketball with my boys.
That's awesome. You're gonna make a memory with your boys. They're gonna keep forever.
Yeah, totally. I can remember as a kid, my dad, the state championships here in Washington, I've been to the Tacoma Dome for ages. And yes. I can remember going with my dad when I was in, second grade. So yeah, they'll definitely remember it for probably ever.
That's awesome. May you have a wonderful, wonderful time. Let's jump into today's class. Bob, today's episode is completely, let's be authentic, is completely being redone. Right? We were having an amazing episode yesterday as we were recording. And
I think it was my best episode ever.
I'm going to read your text. Hang on. I'm going to read your text in a minute. We were recording an episode, and right in the middle of it yesterday, it crapped out. Zencastr that we used to record just aborted our episode. And I texted you after and I said, hey, really sorry that happened. Because one, I hate wasting people's time, and that's what it ended up turning into. And your response, I loved. I was laughing for hours on this one. Bob responded to me and said, did you purposely sabotage this recording because I was sounding so brilliant? If you did, then I'm accepting your apology. If you didn't do it, then stop apologizing. Bob, you were on point yesterday. I'm hoping we can bring some of that magic back today.
It's doubtful.
Yes,
I'm telling you right now, it's doubtful.
We should probably just wrap this episode and be done with it. Here's what we were talking about, folks. We were talking about, it started with a Facebook post I made recently, depending when this drops, where I jokingly just put out there, I was going to run for president. Do I have your vote? And most people that took the time to comment said yes. Some even gave reasons. My wife said I was cute enough to win. Some other people actually said my leadership. Some people have since withdrawn their vote, Bob, because I made a bad dad joke post the next day. They said, that's it. You just lost my vote. And you had said, maybe there's an episode in there where we talk about your platform. And I didn't want to get political, of course. There's no common ground and we can't have discussions anymore. So we're avoiding politics. Yet I sat down and I tweaked the concept and we came up with today's episode titled, What If You Actually Were in Charge? And that's what we're going to talk about today, Bob, is what if you were in charge, not politically, leadership-wise? Because everyone has an opinion, yet few people want the responsibility that comes with the decisions.
Fact, man. Such fact, right? And when you stop and think about, Chad, how many of us, I do this all the time. I do it all the time. We're all guilty of doing this, right? Whether it's with the companies that we do business with, the vendors the softwares that we use, the people that actually lead us. It's really easy to have an opinion about what they did wrong or what they didn't do right or what you think they should be doing when you do not have any of the weight of the consequences of those decisions.
Yeah, because leadership is about responsibility for outcomes, and not every outcome is positive, right? It's very easy to critique decisions you don't have to carry. So that's what we're going to jump into here. Bob, we started talking about, we'll get back and get into the role of this here, that gap between kind of having opinions versus carrying the responsibility. And I gave a few examples. Employees always think the boss has it easy, right? The boss can take that time off, play hooky, make all the money. They get to choose what we're going to, et cetera, et cetera. Customers just think the business should fix it. Like, just fix it. It's how I want it. So fix it, okay? And people think leaders should just make a choice already, decide something so that we can move. Yet leaders will carry incomplete information with them, competing priorities that are going on, and most importantly, I believe, Bob, leaders carry the consequences for other people. Take it from there. What's your thought on those things as I kind of lay out the thought versus reality?
Chad, I can remember the very first time in my entrepreneurial journey, and I don't know how old are we? Let's see. This is 2002 or 3, Chad, and we had our first month in business where we didn't have enough money to cover all the bills. And if you've never been in that position before, lucky you. If you have been in that position before, I think you can probably remember like the crushing feeling of carrying the weight of having to decide who gets paid, who doesn't, which bills get paid, like the call to the landlord of the building, letting them know that you're probably not going to have the rent until the 18th of the month. Like it's really easy on the outside when you don't, like all the decisions we'd made up to that point, Chad, I don't know that I understood the weight of every single one quite as well as I understood the weight after that day where we sat in that room and we couldn't pay all the bills, right? The consequences of every decision we'd made before that put us in that spot where now we couldn't pay the bills. And I'd never been in that position before.
Right.
I've been in it plenty of times since then, but I've never been in it then at that point. And it was my first really clear understanding of the difference between having an opinion about what you should be doing or what the team should be doing or the company should be doing or and actually being the one making the decisions about what you were doing.
Right.
And so it's just, Winston Churchill would say the price of leadership is responsibility. And that's doubly true when the weight of the decisions are impacting other people, right?
Yep. Bob, and you always naturally lean towards business when we're having the conversations. And I do my best to kind of naturally take this outside of business. So our audience, who are entrepreneurs, great salespeople, they're just big thinkers, however they came to become part of our audience. And thank you, each and every one of you. I want everyone to remember we're not only talking business when we talk this. I had those same things when, I was a single parent with my daughter, and financially the world was falling apart due to decisions I had made, which led to consequences of what had to happen. My daughter had to come out of private school, right? We had to move. We had to do all these things at such a tender, young, developmental age for her. And that weighs on me still today, right? Because of the decisions that had to be made at the time. So we're going to jump into some questions every leader must be ready to answer. Bob, I'm going to throw the question out. I want you to kind of attack the answer of the question here so we're prepared. We'll debate it, of course, as we get into it. If you were truly in charge, people, The first question you must be able to answer is, what problem are we actually solving? Because, Bob, people often argue solutions all day long without any clarity on what the problem actually is.
Yeah, Chad, we see this in our kind of core industry, in our businesses that you and I run when we're not here doing the podcast for free. Are we getting paid for this yet, by the way?
Not yet. One of these days, we'll get a bonus maybe.
Got it. So it's very common that somebody will come to me and be like, we need this. So like I consult with some of the biggest businesses in the real estate industry, right? Like these teams doing 500 transactions there or 300 or whatever it is. And they'll come to me and they'll say, we need this. And I'm like, okay, that looks cool. Or that looks, tell me why. And it's very rare that the reason they think they need the thing is actually solving the problem that they haven't even identified. Like it's rare they've identified the right problem, right? They'll say, we want to try this new lead source. And I'll say, okay, why? And they'll say, well, we need more leads. And I'm like, I don't think that's the problem you're solving. I'm like, you have 38,000 people in your database. I don't think you need any more leads. Like the problem you're trying to solve is we need more business. Like get to the root of the actual problem you're trying to solve. Because when you get to the root of the problem, you may realize that the solutions you're coming up with, Chad, aren't actually solving the problem you have. They're solving a problem, but it's not the root problem that you have. And by the way, probably solving that problem is not going to actually, like more leads in that case, didn't get them to more business.
Right.
Most of the time, right? It's some other fundamental problem that they should be looking at. So, I mean, this one's a key.
Yes.
As a leader, it's really easy to have opinions about what we should be doing, but like the leader has to ask themselves, what problem are we solving? All these opinions people have, are they getting us to the root of the issue that we actually have?
Absolutely.
Most of the time you'll figure out it's something different.
Correct. It's a surface problem. It's not the real problem, which is at the root of it that we have to dive down to. That's question one. The next question that leaders must answer is, what are the trade-offs? Because, Bob, entrepreneurs understand you're going to have growth versus margin, right? You're going to have speed versus accuracy. Do we do it really fast or do we do it really right? You're going to have the culture of our company versus the performance maybe of our company if it's not a culture of performance, which we've talked about on recent episodes. Bob, there are no solutions, said Thomas Sowell, only trade-offs. What do you take on that?
Well, Chad, at one point in my career, I was, I don't know, you maybe call me the mayor of 100,000, and it was more, but at some point, but let's call it 100,000 real estate professionals online for kind of the first time people went online. This is early 2000s, right? We had a community and I was the face of that community. Let's call me the mayor. So I was the one responsible for, a part of the decision-making of what we were going to do in that community, what features were we going to build, what things were we going to put our resources into. But then I had to go out and be the person that sold it to the community. And I can't tell you how many times we see this today. We have a software company. You see this all the time. Why don't you? Seems obvious that you would build this as the next feature. Seems obvious you would do that. I can't believe Brivity doesn't have this already. And if there's an answer I've given more than any other answer in my career, it's probably because, again, I've a lot of time spent on the software side of the industry. The number one answer I've probably given the most is, I agree with you. That's a really smart idea. And if we had unlimited resources and time was not a concept, we would probably have that thing built already and there for you, because it's a smart idea. But the reality is, every day we have to prioritize thousands of things that people have asked just like this, that are smart and maybe even in some cases obvious. And we have a certain finite number of resources to do it, and we have a linear timeline. Like time, we can't bend time. Like we have so many hours in the day and so many resources to deploy across those hours. And so like, it wouldn't be uncommon for me. I still do this today. I'll call somebody up, especially with our partners, Chad. I'll call them up and say, look, I agree with you. That's a really smart idea. here's the 3 things we're working on right now. You tell me which one of these 3 would you take off the board to get your idea built? And by the way, it's pretty often they're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Like, no, actually, I keep working on those 3. Those are better than the one that I brought up, right? So, yeah, like there's always trade-offs. No decisions happen in a vacuum or a void. And when you make a decision, there's likely other. I always think that Ben has an interesting. I remember during COVID, and he'd used this analogy before that, but he's like, look, you guys, he says, he's like, at any given point, I am fighting 15 fires in whatever part of my world. Could be in our software world, could be in the people side of our world. And I'm always got 15 fires going. And what I'm trying to decide is which fire might burn the house down. And I'm willing to let the trade-off, I'm willing to let 3 or 4 or 5 of these fires burn over in the corners to go tackle the one today that might burn the house down. Right? These are trade-offs. Yes, somebody probably is burning their finger on that fire over in the corner, a little bit of smoke inhalation coming from the one, down in the basement. But like the one on the main floor in the kitchen is the one that's going to burn the house down. So that's the one that we're focusing resources on today. These are trade-offs that you make every day. And it's really easy to be the person that doesn't have to make these decisions because you don't have to consider the trade-offs. You're like, why don't you just do that?
Yes. And Bob, trade-offs happen all the time, right? You told us at the beginning of the call, you're going to play hooky. You and your boys are going to take them out of school and you're going to go watch the basketball championships that are going on. There's a trade-off. There might be something learned in school today that your kids are now going to miss. There might be a client looking for Bob today that you've said, I'm not available because I'm doing this to have this experience with my kids. We might go out for dinner tonight and my wife might say, I want Mexican food. Well, she just traded off every other kind of food, right? There's no Italian, there's no hamburger, there's no Chinese. She wants Mexican food. Everything, big or small, there's always the trade-off. I got up in the morning to work out. You slept a little longer, right? I traded sleep for the workout. You traded the sleep to skip the workout. We have trade-offs on everything, and leaders have to understand it and be ready to know what the trade-offs are. Next question, Bob. Leaders have to be able to answer this. Who is affected by this decision? Yeah. Right? Is it your family? Let's go there first, right? Is it your family? Is it your employees? Is it your clients? Is it who else? Bob, talk a little bit about who is affected and that question that we should be asking ourselves as a leader.
I think, it's relatively fresh in the rearview mirror, those 2020, 2021 COVID years. And I just think, like, I can remember the day that, and it was before most of the world recognized what was happening. There was a day, Chad, I don't remember the exact number. I want to say it was like 12%, 17%. I forget. In one day, we had cancellations in our software business that wiped out like 17% of our annual revenue. Like in one day. That's a massive hit to any company. I think it was one day, 17%. And I can remember like that day, Ben pulling our entire leadership group together and talking about what we were going to do.
Right.
And the biggest part of that, I think, was who is affected by this decision. Like, he was putting options. He wasn't telling us what we were going to do. He was like, we were brought into this decision process. Right. But it was decisions like, who's going to take a 20% reduction in pay and who's going to take a 15% reduction in pay? It was every one of our teams, we've got to scale them down by 10%. It was, and these now you're starting to think about, we may have to lay people off. There was, as an employee out in the field that day, you were probably thinking like nothing, or maybe you were like, we need more help in support. Like, we're getting bombarded with phone calls. We don't have enough people in support. While the leaders were out deciding like, who has to go home today to their family and say, hey, I'm taking a 15% reduction in my pay for the foreseeable future. I don't know for how long.
Yep. And Bob, when a leader is in that position, they have to understand that their circle of impact expands. Yeah. Because when Ben, if we use him as this example, yes, he was not only impacting his employees, you, David Wiggs, me, everybody whose name was on that list. He was impacting also all of the clients of the product, because that meant it was going to take longer to get your answer. That meant it was going to take longer to fix a problem, whatever was going on. It was going to reduce the amount of trainings that were able to be offered. And he was impacting your family, my family, everybody's, right? His circle of impact got bigger and bigger as a leader when decisions have to be made. Folks, that's a lot of weight to carry. Someone who worked for the company's kid left private school because of a decision Ben had to make for a business, which impacted employee, which impacted their family. And Ben had to consider all of that. And that's a weight most of us don't want to carry.
And the reality, like this was like, there was a real threat that, the next one's interesting.
Go on. You can just lead right into it.
Let's just go to the next one, which is what happens if we do nothing.
Right.
Like because sometimes, and Ben's really good at this, by the way, I'm not going to make a decision on that today. I'm not doing anything there. Like we're not going to improve that thing. We're not going to sunset it. We're like, I'm not deciding on that today. And I'm okay with the implications or the impact of what happens if we do nothing there. But like in this particular scenario that I was talking about, that was on the table. Like, what happens if we just do nothing? Like, can we survive on a 17% reduction in annual recurring revenue today? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We could lose 8% more of our annual revenue tomorrow. Like, we're literally sitting there watching, the U.S. economy fall off the side of a cliff because Washington State got shut down, right? Like, our real estate agents couldn't go even show people inside of houses anymore. Like, the entire industry came to a stop. We lost 12 or 17, I can't remember, percent of the revenue. We're thinking tomorrow it could be another 10% or 8%. And what if we do nothing? Like, that was a real thought. But in that particular case, Ben's belief, if we did nothing, was that the company could go under. Like, we could get very quickly to a place where we can't pay anybody, let alone pay us 80% or 85% of our salaries. By the way, it should be worth noting, and maybe let's go to the next one, because I got a pretty good segue right into this next one, Chad. So, am I willing to own the result? Like, as the leader, you got to own that result. So it's really easy sitting on the sidelines having an opinion, but the reality is, if I don't have to own the result, Chad, sure, I got lots of opinions, right? I got lots of opinions. My son and I were talking about this last night. He thinks that, AJ DeBonsis should be the number one pick in the draft. And I'm like, well, maybe. But that's a really easy opinion to have. You're not the GM hiring that guy that if it doesn't work out, you get fired. Like, it's a different calculus when you're the guy that owns the result. Am I willing to own the result? In Ben's case, he had to own that decision. But shout out to Ben Kinney. Like, he is but there was no promise to any of us that we would ever see any of that reduction from our salaries. Once, many of us know the rest of the story, right? The real estate market crazily rebounds in 2021, 21 and 2, and even slightly into 3 are some of the best, most explosive years in real estate ever. And the company gets back into a financial position. Ben paid all of our employees, all of us that took salary reductions, he gave that all back to us.
Right.
But because he owned that result, he would have owned it had it been a disaster and we had to shut the company down. He would have had to own it, right? Now, he made a solid decision that led to a great turnaround, and there was factors in play that maybe he didn't even control, but he had to insulate and inoculate the business so that no matter what the outcome was, he was going to own that thing, right? Now, it happened to be a great outcome, and he did above and beyond what was expected of him, like he always does. But
he made a tough decision, though, right? He had to make 100%. A tough decision as the leader to carry through the hard time before good times returned, right? Someone in your family gets sick. Decisions have to be made. The person will hopefully get better and return to full health. Yet decisions have to be made during that time of, we can't do this or we can't do those things there. Bob, most people avoid true leadership. Everybody wants to be a leader, yet most people avoid true leadership because they will be criticized and they will disappoint someone. Right? No matter what, there's going to be criticism. You want to avoid it? Say nothing and do nothing. Otherwise, you will be criticized because you can't please everybody all the time. And Bob, you will absolutely disappoint someone because every meaningful decision excludes somebody in one way or another, or does not achieve what their personal desire and goal was it. Leaders accept that, and that is true leadership.
Yeah. I can remember the early Active Rain days. I used to the criticism we would take used to tie me up in knots. I'd be like, I would get honestly, just mad, angry about it. And I remember one time, Jonathan, we were sitting in the conference room in our office, it was a real estate office at that time. As we were launching Active Rain, we had a real estate company called Brio, and we were sitting in the conference room, and I was really heated about some criticism that had been and he said to me, you know what's cool? And I'm like, what? I'm fiery, I'm pissed. I'm like, well, what's cool? Tell me, please. I'd love to hear it.
I want to punch you, so try to tell me something cool, right?
Yeah, he's like, it's cool that anybody's even talking about us. And I was like, maybe you're right. All these years later, I take the criticism as a badge of honor that we're even worthy of being spoken about, right? No,
what's the saying? There's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah.
Right. So if they're out there talking about you, good or bad, they're talking about you, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I've come to appreciate the criticism, look for the source of it, right? Give some empathy to that person, the source. A lot of times that criticism's coming out of some of their own frustration. It's not necessarily directed at you, but I don't know. I've learned to wear it as a badge of honor and figure out, is there validity in some of it? Sometimes there was validity in the criticism we were taking, Chad. And I was like, you know what? That's a valid criticism. That's something we could take and learn and do better with. But, most people that are avoiding leadership do it because they do not want to be criticized.
Correct.
And I can understand that. I had a hard time with it in the beginning.
All right. So entrepreneurs, you are leaders. The question is, are you becoming true leaders? Are you just leading from a position of I'm the leader and you're all going to follow and I'm going to make some casual decisions? Or are you understanding people will criticize you? People will be disappointed by you. And you will have to ask yourself, can you make the hard call when the time comes? Are you delaying decisions hoping that they solve themselves because you don't want to deal with them? Are you seeking approval, people pleasers like Bob, or are you truly creating direction when it comes to it? Because leadership isn't about power. It's about ownership. Bob, I want to give our audience a few practical takeaways, things they can do. So I'm going to use you. I'm going to put you on the spot as I go through this, and we're going to just give you, the audience, this and give you some simple things. I'm going to ask you, Bob, what's one decision you've been avoiding it's time to finally make?
Man, you did put me on the spot. I wasn't ready for this. One decision I've been avoiding, Chad. My God.
I know you and your family might be looking for another rental opportunity. I know there might be something going on at work with someone you're supposed to hire, fire, or talk to the team about. What might be going on, Bob, that's a decision you've been avoiding making because you're giving yourself an energy drain by leaving that decision loop open and not closing it? Folks,
can
if
I
you
come
can
back
see
to that
Bob,
one?
he is thinking. Bob is thinking over there.
I got to come back to that one.
Ask yourself that question, right? We'll let Bob off the hook right now. Ask yourself that question, because question 2 then relates to question 1. Bob, once you've figured out a decision you've been avoiding, for us, it's booking a vacation, right? We're just kind of leaving it out there. Are we going to go on that cruise to Alaska? Are we not going to go? Should we go? We'll wait and we'll decide and right? We've got to make the decision we've been avoiding, whoever's the leader truly in our house. We know that's my wife, right? Own the consequence that comes with it, Bob, even if the decision is imperfect and therefore the results are imperfect. You must be ready to own those consequences. Are you ready with the kids playing hooky this afternoon to own the consequences of what might happen?
I am here. I got a silly one, Chad, only because I did mention basketball, but I didn't mention my kids playing basketball, which I believe is on everybody's bingo card.
That's on our bingo card, yes.
So my oldest son is getting into basketball now. He's practicing with his brother every night in the basement and all this stuff. But the younger boy, who normally was playing on 2, in some cases 3 teams, he's 1 team this next stretch of season. But the decision that we're trying to make is, where are we going to train on those off days? And so we've got a couple of gyms, Chad, that we're deciding between, and the reality is we just need to make a decision. And we've been dragging our feet on it. Every couple of days we come back to it. It is kind of, it's 10 or 15 minutes where Carter's like, well, which one are we going to do? And I'm like, I don't know, let's pull them up again. And so I think we probably that's one decision I've been avoiding making, and I just need to do it, pull the trigger.
And you have to then own the consequences. It might be the wrong decision.
Yeah, the timing might not be right. Yeah, totally. The open gym at the YMCA might not be in a time zone that works for us,
Okay. And then, Bob, you have to stop criticizing from the sidelines. If you think something should change, step up and lead. Don't just sit there. If your wife is sitting there saying, she should just jump in and say, hey, we're picking the YMCA, or we're picking the whatever it is.
Anybody that knows my wife knows that if she, I don't even think she knows that we're indecisive right now, because if she knew, Chad, she would jump in and help us make a decision. So
yes, absolutely. All right, folks, look, running for president might have been a joke when I posted it, although I'm thinking about it. It might have been a joke. Yet every one of you out there listening, the truth is, you already run something. It might not be the country, yet you are running a team. You are running a business. You are running a family. You are running your life. And leadership asks you this: are you willing to be responsible for the outcome? Share this with someone. Bob, find our review. You told our audience you're going to read a review. I'm giving you a second to scroll because you forgot. You're going to read a review while I ask the audience, go give us one. If you have before, come back, give us another review. If you haven't reviewed us, review the Win, Make, Give podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you share with a friend. And don't leave yet. It might be your review Bob's about to read. Bob's about to read. He's smiling.
This review just said, I might need self-improvement. That's what this review said.
Okay. As long as they're saying they might need self-improvement, not the podcast needs self-improvement. Although we are open to your suggestions, just remember, everything has a trade-off. Until our next episode. I'll read. You got another one?
Real quick. So I'll read this one really quick because I think this is a good send-off for everybody. It says, in a world that constantly compels you to compare your chapter in life with the people around you's chapters in lives, Ben and Bob and Chad have created a space and a podcast to give you the systems, tools, and confidence to be okay with where you are and inspire you to move in a better direction. I think that's a nice review that somebody left us there, because that's what we're all about, Chad. Like, all of us are at different places in life, right? All of us are leading different levels of organizations, where some of us are simply leading ourselves today. But our aspirational goal is to keep driving you in the right direction to a bigger life so they can win more, make more, and give more, Chad.
Do we have a name to give a shout out to? Do you have who it was that left us the review?
I closed it down. If you give me a second here in my face recognition. Maybe I guess I don't look like myself today. My phone wouldn't turn on. No, I don't have it. It's KY Realtor of Choice. Somebody from Kentucky, a realtor in Kentucky left us that one. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Kentucky, folks. Until our next episode, do good.